Bet countdown to kickoff.
Going for the end zone, over the shoulder. Oh, Mims hauls it in.
We've got you set for all the weekend's postseason action.
Here's Walker, cuts back. Kenneth Walker is in. Touchdown, Seahawks.
From sides to totals to props, we've got you covered. It's You Better You Bet Countdown to Kickoff, presented by BetMGM on Westwood One Sports. Here's your host, Nick Kostos.
What's up, everybody? Happy and merry Divisional Round Sunday in the NFL playoffs to you and yours. This is You Better You Bet's Countdown to Kickoff with me, Nick Kostos, on Westwood One Sports. As we bring you the fastest show in all of sports. The show presented today and always by BetMGM. Make it legendary by downloading the BetMGM app and visiting BetMGM.com. Here's what we've got coming your way over the course of the next 2 hours here. You Better You Bet's Countdown to Kickoff. Two tremendous guests will join us on the show, both Westwood One analysts that will be calling today's playoff action. Jason McCourty will stop by. He will be on the call of the Patriots and the Texans from Foxborough later this afternoon with John Sadak, Ben Lieber on the sidelines. Jason McCourty will join us next hour here on You Better You Bet's Countdown to Kickoff. And later this hour, friend of the show, our friend Ross Tucker. Ross will be on the call of the Rams and the Bears from Soldier Field, along with Kevin Harlan, Laura Oakman on the sideline on Westwood One Sports. Ross Tucker will join us about a half an hour from now to talk the Rams and the Bears and everything we have seen thus far, divisional round of the NFL playoffs. I will preview both of today's games today, looking forward to it, all the storylines, all the betting angles, Texans at the Patriots, Rams at the Chicago Bears. Best bets will close the show, sides, totals, and thy royal prop king for both of today's games. But we officially begin the divisional round Sunday edition of You Better You Bet's Countdown to Kickoff with Nick Kostos on Westwood One Sports with one of the best divisional round playoff games in the history of the NFL postseason. It stands there with the Tuck rule. Patriots Raiders following the 0-1 season. 13 seconds with the Bills and the Chiefs 4 years ago. The Jaguars beating the Broncos, the heavily favored Broncos in 1996 with Jimmy Smith and Mark Brunell. 1981, Chargers and the Dolphins with Kellen Winslow. Joe Flacco, John Harbaugh, Jacoby Jones beating the Broncos at Mile High. Shout out to Raheem Moore. Yesterday in Denver, Broncos 33, Bills 30 in overtime. One of the best divisional round playoff games ever. And it was one of those, as you're in the second half of this game, and you know you are watching something truly special, and we had no idea how special it was going to be up until the very end. Now, before we get to everything we saw on the field, before we get to everything that happened post-game, and there was a lot of it, including the Denver Broncos sneaking in there about an hour after the game, that, no big deal. Our starting quarterback has a fractured bone in his right ankle and is out for the rest of the playoffs, and the backup's going to start on Championship Sunday. I'm going to get to all of it. All the real-life storylines, the betting storylines. We will cover all of it here. But we have to start, and I hate to do this, and I mean that sincerely. I don't want to talk about this crap, but we have to, because it is an omnipresent storyline coming out of yesterday's game. And I'm thinking it in the moment during the final drive. Sometimes I think I have supernatural powers. I absolutely do not. I'd be way taller than I am if I did. But I tweet during overtime, man, the officiating in this game has been awesome. They weren't throwing flags. They were letting #let the players play. This was an awesome officiated game. Until it wasn't. And on the Broncos' final drive, And I had zero problem with the Jaquan McMillan interception being called an interception. I know that everyone wants to bitch and moan, including the Bills players and the Bills coaches. How could you not have a more extended review? Why did New York not get involved? I'm not interested in that part of the conversation. I actually thought it was an interception, and I bet the Bills in the game. I thought it was an interception by the Denver Broncos. What followed on that final drive for Denver, which turned out to be the game-winning drive for Denver, was like a miscarriage of justice. And I'm not insinuating that it's why the Buffalo Bills lost the game. It is not why the Buffalo Bills lost. Hear me. It is not why the Buffalo Bills lost the game. They lost it of their own power and of their own volition. But the officiating on that final drive was miserable. And it's not that some of the calls were bad. Like the Joey Bosa roughing the passer call was textbook roughing the passer. He did it. He roughed the passer. But you can't have a game where you let everything go. And I love that they did. And then throw a flag on every single potential foul on the final drive of the game. So, was it pass interference on Tre'Davious White at the end of the game to set up the field goal? Yes. By the letter of the law, it was. I'm not arguing that. But what I am saying is, I want the officiating to be consistent. And if you're not going to call anything the entire game, how can you decide a classic playoff game, seasons, legacies on the line like that? That's my beef with the officiating. Not that the calls were bad, but that if you're going to throw the damn flag in that spot, you can't not throw the flag for the rest of the game. Just a wildly inconsistently officiated football game last night, as it turns out, at the end of the game with the Denver Broncos and the Buffalo Bills. So that needs to be said. I hated the officiating at the end of the game. And it went both ways. Both teams benefited from from no calls in the game yesterday. Up until the end, where the Denver Broncos got the field goal handed to them on a silver platter to win the game. That's not sour grapes by me. I'm telling the truth. That's what happened. Now that that's out of the way, now we can talk about the game. And we'll get to the Broncos. But we have to start with Buffalo, right? And it really surprises me when I do the various shows that I do. I've been saying this for years. This is not a new opinion from me. I've been saying it for years. And people will get really mad and I don't know why. They get really mad when you say this. The Buffalo Bills need to fire Sean McDermott. He's got to go. I don't know, how much more evidence you need that they need a change of leadership. Since every single season ends exactly the same way. And you just want to run it back. No worries. We'll just do the same thing again next year, and next year it'll be different. Will it? What everyone wants to say is, well, if you fire Sean McDermott, who are you going to get to replace him? They took the 1 seed to overtime on the road and they lost. You can't fire the coach. Grow up. The point of sports is to win. The Bills never win. And I'm not trying to troll here. I feel terrible for Bills fans. I bet the Bills in the game. I wanted them to win. I feel terrible for John. How could you not? He's crying after the game. I feel terrible for him. I feel terrible for McDermott personally. And it's not that McDermott's a bad coach. In the same way, John Harbaugh's not a bad coach. But the Ravens needed to get rid of him. And I'm a Giants fan. I'm happy the Giants finally got it done yesterday and hired John Harbaugh. But Harbaugh needed to go. You can't keep doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. I mean, at some point, we're nearing the time, in all seriousness, right, where now every single year, this is a rite of passage. Think about the months of December and January. What happens in both of those months every year? You got Christmas Eve, you got Christmas Day, you got New Year's Day, and you have the montage that airs every January of Buffalo Bill, and forget about the 90s. We can leave Super Bowls 25 to 28 at the side for a second here. No, this is the Josh Allen, Sean McDermott era, where you get the montage of all their playoff losses, and at some point this is going to be longer than the English Patient. I mean, it's going to be like a 2.5 hour to go to see the Lord of the Rings movie. How do you keep doing this? How do you keep doing this if you're the Buffalo Bills? And this is the worst one. Period. Full stop. And maybe you want to say, well, 13 seconds was worse because they had the Chiefs beat. Who knows if they beat the Bengals and Joe Burrow the next week. They got slammed by the Bengals the next year at home in the divisional round. This is the worst one for Buffalo because there's no Lamar. There's no Burrow. And most importantly, obviously, there's no boogeyman in red. The final boss that wears number 15. He's not there. No Patrick Mahomes. No Lamar Jackson. No Joe Burrow. No problem for the Bills, who will, despite all of that, still manage to lose in heart-stomping, soul-crushing fashion. Because that's what they always do. With Sean McDermott as the coach and Brandon Beane as the GM with this current hierarchy and this current regime. This is like playing a video game, right? Like Mike Tyson's Punch-Out back in the day. And before the game, you get told, hey, in order to beat the game, you don't have to beat Mike Tyson at the end, Patrick Mahomes. You don't even have to beat Super Macho Man. And that could be Joe Burrow. Hell, you don't even have to beat Lamar Jackson. You don't have to beat, whoever, Piston Honda, whoever the hell it is, the third boss, Soda Popinski. No. You beat King Hippo, you beat Von Kaiser, and you beat the game. You beat Bo Nix, and you go to the championship game. You can't even do that. You can't beat the video game with the three final bosses, the three last bosses, all aren't there, and you still can't beat the game. And you just want to roll it back and do it again. Roll it back and do it again. Now, to be fair, and I think Sean McDermott's got to go because, and the reason why is because the same thing with the Ravens. You're never firing Josh Allen. Why would you? He's going to the Hall of Fame. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. You're never fire Lamar Jackson. So what do? You get rid of the coach, right? That's what you do. It wasn't Sean McDermott that turned it over 5 times in the game. It's a horrible effort from the Buffalo Bills. Now let's call a spade, and I'll credit Denver for all the Broncos fans. We will credit the Broncos coming up in moments. If the Buffalo Bills play even, that's like an F game that they played yesterday. If they play a C game, they win by 10. If they play a fully clean game, they win this game like 107-3. They outplayed the Broncos. I mean, they turned it over 5 times and still almost won in overtime on the road at the 1 seed. It's an inexcusable loss for the Buffalo Bills. And yes, Josh Allen could have been way better in the game. I don't think he's the main reason the Bills lost, but he didn't help them win. I don't know what the hell he's thinking at the end of the first half. Holding the ball like a loaf of bread. Like, I'm dying to fumble this ball and hand the Broncos 3 points. And you see this every January with Allen and Lamar Jackson, where they short-circuit in the big spots. Even last year in the AFC title game, Bills at the Chiefs dropped 2 early interceptions on terrible throws from Josh Allen. He does this sometimes. And I'm not trolling and I'm not hating. Josh Allen is one of the best. This is the type of quarterback that you pray for to be on your favorite team. He's going to go to the Hall of Fame. He's unbelievable. But he's got to play better in these spots. We spent a regular season talking about that James Cook might be the best running back in football, one of the best running backs in football. Now, I have no way to prove this, but you watched the game, right? You, the listener, you, the viewer. We all watched the game. Buffalo's up 7-3. They're driving to go up 10-3 or 14-3 in Denver territory. And James Cook puts the ball on the ground. Denver recovers. Denver drives down and scores to take a 10-7 lead. What happens if James Cook doesn't fumble there? Who wins the game? Now, is it we boil it down to that? Is that necessarily fair to do? Maybe not. But it happened. And I'm not the only one that thought that because I'm texting with really smart people about after that fumble. And everyone's like, oh, my God, the Bills, basically, they could have just lost the game on that fumble. So it's Allen. It's Cook. It's everything that goes into it. A miserable loss for the Bills. And now we reach a spot, right, where I don't even know if there are people, I guess like Jets fans and like Patriots fans, whatever, Dolphins fans. I'm sure there are some fan bases that like hate the Bills. They never win. I guess you can hate them. I think they're pretty likable. Where Josh Allen is, think about this, right? As sports fans, name a more sympathetic athlete right now in sports than Josh Allen. Can you? He doesn't exist. He's crying after the game. How do you not? I bet the Bills, and I lost money, and I still feel terrible for him. I still feel awful for him. And perhaps you'd like to compare Josh Allen to Peyton Manning and their foibles getting over the hump. Peyton Manning, after being drafted in 98, in 99, the Colts go 13-3, lose in the divisional round at home to Eddie George and the Tennessee Titans. Lose in 2000 to Jay Fiedler, Lamar Smith, and the Miami Dolphins in overtime. That's the Dolphins' last playoff win. Great franchise. Get shut out by the Jets in 02. 03-04, lose to Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, and the Patriots. 05 is the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Mike Vanderjagt miss on the Jerome Bettis fumble at the goal line. And then they win in 2006. And they changed coaches during that period from Jim Mora to Tony Dungy to try and do something different. Meanwhile, here's the Bills. McDermott and Allen. 19, overtime loss to Houston. 20, first loss to the Chiefs. 21, 13 seconds, second loss to the Chiefs. 22, bulldozed at home by Joe Burrow and the Bengals. 23, Tyler Bass wide right, third loss to the Chiefs. 24, Kincaid drop on the final play for Buffalo, fourth loss to the Chiefs. And then yesterday, losing to Bo Nix and the Denver Broncos. Just enough. Enough. If the Bills do this again, and they're just going to run it back with McDermott and Brandon Beane and try and do the same thing again, like they deserve it next January if this happens again. What's the argument? Make the argument against what I'm saying. I dare you to make an argument against what I'm saying right now. You can't. It's time. It's time. Now, as far as the Denver Broncos go, there are some teams that will have the opposition try and hand them a game, desperately try and hand them a game, and say, you know what? We don't want it. You take it. It happens all the time in sports and certainly in the National Football League. So credit to the Denver Broncos for saying, hey, you want to give us the game? We'll take it. We'll win the game. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. And Bo Nix, is he as good as Josh Allen? No. Did he play well enough to win? Yes. 26-46, 279, 3 touchdowns and an interception. And the Broncos win the game to advance to Championship Sunday at home. And we're all, as sports fans, right? We're all kind of basking in the glory of this tremendous game. And Niners and Seahawks, we'll get to that game in a little bit, is about to start. And we're thinking about everything that just happened and the officiating, and Buffalo loses again, and Josh Allen's crying, and the Broncos are happy, and the fans are celebrating. And here comes Sean Payton to the post-game press conference, to the podium, to announce that Bo Nix fractured a bone in his right ankle on the play when he falls backwards to set up Will Lutz for the game-winning field goal. And he has to have surgery, and he's done for the year. Out of nowhere. This is like the news equivalent of an RKO out of nowhere. This is right, they win to go to the AFC Championship game. First postseason win since Super Bowl 50 against the Carolina Panthers 10 years ago. This is like you get married, and you're having a great wedding day, and you're at the reception, and someone comes up to you and says, hey, buddy, congrats on the nuptials. Also, your new bride is banging the pool guy. What? You just beat the Bills. Quarterback's out for the year. No one knew he was hurt. How does that happen? And now, it's Jarrett Stidham for the Denver Broncos in the AFC Championship game, and if they win, in Super Bowl 60. We'll take a quick break. And on the other side, here on You Better You Bet's Countdown to Kickoff, we'll talk about Jarrett Stidham and why I believe he is not your average run-of-the-mill curtain-jerking jabroni backup quarterback. And if I give Denver a chance against either Houston or New England next week. And we'll spend like 3 minutes on the Niners-Seahawks game because Seattle killed them. The end. More You Better You Bet's Countdown to Kickoff on Westwood One Sports coming up next with me, Nick Kostos, presented by BetMGM.
We'll be right back with You Better You Bet Countdown to Kickoff, presented by BetMGM. Make it legendary.
is up. It is good, and the Broncos win in overtime. Denver 33, Buffalo 30, and for the first time in a decade, the Denver Broncos are back in the AFC Championship game.
This is You Better You Bet Countdown to Kickoff with Nick Kostos, presented by BetMGM. Make it legendary.
Ryan Radke and Mike Golick Sr. with the call yesterday from Denver. The Broncos onto their first AFC Championship game in a decade. Also, the starting quarterback's out for the year. What a gut punch. Unbelievable. Ross Tucker will join us about 10 minutes from now, Westwood One NFL analyst. Ross will be on the call coming up later tonight with Kevin Harlan of the Rams and the Bears from frigid Soldier Field in Chicago. So with the Bo Nix injury, which again is just is crazy that actually happened, Jarrett Stidham steps into the spotlight. Now, if you're out there listening, watching, and you're like, I know nothing about Jarrett Stidham, that's okay. That's why I live and breathe this stuff. I will do the work so you don't have to. I got you covered. Jarrett Stidham, by the way, a teammate of Jason McCourty on the 2019 Patriots. We could talk with Jason McCourty about that next hour on the show, Westwood One NFL analyst. Jarrett Stidham, drafted by the Patriots in Tom Brady's final year in Foxborough in 2019. First kind of came into national prominence to a degree. Prominence is overstated there. But amongst NFL fans and bettors, at the end of the 22 season with the Raiders, when Derek Carr gets hurt at the end of the year, and then here comes Jarrett Stidham to play quarterback the final couple games, and played pretty well. That offseason, here's where things get a little interesting and why I don't want to bury the Broncos just yet. Sean Payton gets hired by Denver, right, to be their head coach, and Russell Wilson's the quarterback. I think we know in retrospect, Sean Payton kind of hated Russell Wilson, right? Not a secret. Literally, the first day, maybe even the second day, very early in free agency, Sean Payton's first free agent period as the head coach of the Denver Broncos, they sign Jarrett Stidham. They seek out and sign Jarrett Stidham to be Russell Wilson's backup. End of that year, remember what happens. The Broncos bench Russell Wilson because they can't afford for him to get hurt because then they owe him all this guaranteed money, so they bench him for financial reasons, and Stidham ends up playing the final couple games of the season. Now, Peyton didn't show all that much faith in Stidham because they drafted Bo Nix in the first round, and Nix is the starting quarterback the last 2 years, obviously. But Stidham is not like your average curtain-jerking jabroni backup, in my estimation at least. And maybe he stinks next week. We shall see. But if we're all going to say, and we do, right, and we're right to say it, that Sean Payton is this kind of legendary head coach and brilliant offensive mind, he clearly believes in Stidham. Maybe not the way he believes in Bo Nix or Drew Brees, but he clearly believes in Stidham. And he has basically called an offense all season long that hides his quarterback a lot of the time. And I know Broncos fans get really salty when you say that like it's an insult. Why do you care? You're 15-3 now, including the win from yesterday. You're hosting Conference Championship Sunday. Who cares how it happens? I think it's pretty clear that he doesn't really trust Bo Nix that much, and Bo Nix played well in the game yesterday. Do you have to change the game plan that much with Stidham? Maybe he's not as good an athlete as Bo Nix is, but do you really have to change the game plan that much with Jarrett Stidham? So now, the questions that we ask ourselves as fans and as bettors. Can Jarrett Stidham be Nick Foles? Can Jarrett Stidham be Jeff Hostetler? Shout out to the 1990 Giants, man. Maybe my favorite NFL team ever. I'm biased as a Giants fan. I don't know what the answer to that question is. What I can tell you is, because domestic sportsbooks have this up, and we encourage everybody to bet at BetMGM, to download the BetMGM app, visit BetMGM.com so you can make it legendary. The Broncos, this is not an opinion. I'm not giving an opinion right now. I'm telling you what's going to happen, assuming the quarterbacks make it through today's game unscathed in the AFC. The Broncos are going to be home underdogs next Sunday. That is not opinion. That is fact. You can go argue with the cloud if you did. Call your mom. I don't care. It's a fact. And if you disagree, you can bet on Denver. That's what's great about this, right? You can register your opinion and your money in the betting market. They will be dogs no matter who they play. If I were a Bronco fan, if I were someone that was interested in betting the Broncos or had the Broncos already, I'll tell you what I'd be rooting for. Root for the Patriots. And this is not meant to be an insult. I think New England's going to win today. So I'm not insulting because you're all really, really sensitive fans. And I guess I'm a sensitive sports fan also. Just saying. I don't mean that as an insult to New England. But seriously, can you imagine Jarrett Stidham versus the Texans defense? They might have to peel him off the turf with a spatula when it's all said and done. We'll give you more on the Denver Broncos in the AFC Championship game coming up later in the show. We will get to the Seattle Seahawks demolition of the Niners last night in the Bay Area. I'm going to preview both games coming up today. Jason McCourty next hour. Best Bets will close the show. But coming up next here on Westwood One Sports, You Better You Bet's Countdown to Kickoff, Divisional Round Sunday with Nick Kostos, a chat with Westwood One NFL analyst, my friend, the great Ross Tucker, presented by BetMGM.
We'll be right back with You Better You Bet Countdown to Kickoff, presented by BetMGM. Make it legendary. This is You Better You Bet Countdown to Kickoff with Nick Kostos, presented by BetMGM. Make it legendary.
No matter who you're rooting for, write your own story for the divisional round this year. Now, you can make I love this, by the way. The BetMGM copy here, this is like Shakespeare wrote this. I'm going to read this again. This is very well done. Whoever wrote this deserves a raise. No matter who you're rooting for, write your own story for the divisional round this year. Now, you can make every game more memorable when you bet with boosted odds. Activate today's Odds Boost token on any pro football playoffs bet, and you'll receive a bigger payout if your bet wins. So again, if you're out there listening or watching, you want to bet on the NFL playoffs. Chances are you do, because you're watching and listening to the show. And if not, that's cool too. Why wouldn't you do it at BetMGM, where you get an odds boost token to make you win more money if you win your bet? Lock in for every playoff snap with BetMGM. Download the BetMGM app, visit BetMGM.com so you can make it legendary. And as always, please, 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 please gamble responsibly. It would be irresponsible of us here, You Better You Bet's Countdown to Kickoff on Westwood One Sports, to not welcome to the show on Divisional Round Sunday Westwood One NFL analyst, host of the Ross Tucker Football Podcast. You can follow him on all socials at Ross Tucker NFL. If we didn't welcome to the show the guy that will be calling the Bears and the Rams later tonight from Soldier Field alongside the legendary Kevin Harlan, Laura Oakman on the sideline for Westwood One Sports, the great Ross Tucker. My friend, welcome back to the show. Happy Divisional Round Sunday to you and yours.
Likewise, Nick. I like that we're doing this 2 weeks in a row. I'm ready to roll.
Oh, absolutely love having you. I don't know if we've agreed to do this Championship Sunday or not, but would love to have you on the show. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. We'll get to, my friends, the Bears and the Rams, the game that you'll be calling coming up in a little bit. We have to start with Bills-Broncos yesterday, and I don't even want to lead you into something here. There's so much to get into. I want you to hit me, and if you don't, I'll obviously ask you about Jarrett Stidham, but the thing that you take away most from that game yesterday with the Bills and the Broncos, with Denver winning in overtime, is what and why?
Oh, wow. That's a tough one because there's three things immediately that jump to mind. The Bo Nix injury is massive because I'm already kind of moving on to next week. That's one. Number two is the questionable officiating in overtime. And number three is probably the thing that's being talked about the least, which is that, he's my favorite player in the NFL, but Josh Allen did not play as well as he needed to ensure that the Bills won that game. And I know we all love Josh, literally my favorite player to watch in the NFL, but a number of missed throws, the turnovers. The reality is with their roster, in particular at the receiver position, Josh has to be almost perfect, and he wasn't. The fumbles, the interception, he misses Shakir, which might have been a touchdown. He threw it low, and they settled for a field goal. He misses Knox, might have been the game-winning touchdown. I mean, there's just I'm trying to remember. I don't know who number 16 is. I got to look it up. But he missed number 16
Samuel
on an out route. That was critical. Oh, no, it was McCole Hardman. I'm sorry.
You're right.
Hardman.
Hardman should have caught that ball,
on an out route.
Throw from Allen.
Yeah, on an out route. I can't remember if that was overtime or in the end of regulation, but he just missed some throws that he normally doesn't, which is really, really unfortunate. I detest that I feel like our society is all about, or not our society, Nick, but a large percentage is always blame somebody else, always blame the refs. And I'll get into that, by the way, because I have a pretty strong feeling about that. But in particular, like the Brandon Cooks play, don't let the guy rip the ball out of your hands. Don't let McMillan rip the ball out of your hands. By the way, you're a receiver. If you even have simultaneous possession, it's definitely your ball, and you definitely win the game. You have a very young daughter. I have two daughters that are 13 and 12. I am really, really tough on them when it comes to personal responsibility and personal accountability, and not looking to blame others for your failures or what happens. They're literally at a club volleyball tournament right now, and sometimes some things go well, some things go poorly. But the point is like you don't blame other people in life. You first look at what you could have done better.
I agree completely. And that's why on the Josh Allen point, and this will feed me into the question I was going to ask you, Ross Tucker here with us on the show, Westwood One NFL analyst, host of the Ross Tucker Football Podcast on social media, at Ross Tucker NFL. Sean McDermott, and I think Sean McDermott's a good coach. You know where this is going already. Sean McDermott gets up there at the post-game press conference and blames the officials, right? And goes, I'm standing up for Buffalo. Like, enough, buddy, with the performative nonsense. I think he's a really good coach. In the same way, I think John Harbaugh is a really good coach, and I'm happy Ross, my favorite team, the Giants, hired him. But I thought Harbaugh needed to go from Baltimore because you're never firing Lamar Jackson. Sean McDermott, at what point do the Bills say, we can't do this anymore? Year 9 coming up of this partnership. I think McDermott would get another job in the cycle if the Bills let him go. I'm not saying he's a bad coach, but Ross, at what point do you say it's time to do something different? Do you think the Bills need to move on from Sean McDermott?
I think you can make a compelling argument either way. I think what hurts the argument right now is that the guys that are probably the best candidates, like John Harbaugh and Kevin Stefanski, are already spoken for. So I think it would be difficult for Terry Pegula, the owner in Buffalo, with the exception of convincing potentially Mike Tomlin to be the coach. I think it's difficult to
promote
feel
Joe
strongly. Brady? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, why only have one when you can have both? Joe Brady's probably not going anywhere. I don't think you make a change just for change's sake. I think you make a change if you feel like someone's an upgrade. Maybe they do think somebody else. Maybe they think, I'm just making it up, maybe they think Jim Schwartz is an upgrade. I don't know. But I'm not doing it just for that portion of it. And what I would tell you about in particular what McDermott said after the game is, I think part of that was probably intentional so that the focus is on the officiating as opposed to the Bills losing. I mean, I'm not saying that, that's why McDermott did it, but I think it probably had the intended effect.
All right, so we can move on past the Buffalo Bills for now. Ross, we've got 8 minutes left in the interview and have a bunch of other things I want to get to, including both games today. So maybe 60 to 90 seconds here. Jarrett Stidham starting the AFC Championship game next week for the Broncos. And what a shocker that was, right? An hour after the game. By the way, Bo Nix is out for the season. And the Broncos will be home underdogs against whoever wins today with the Texans and the Patriots. Now, we don't know what the matchup's going to be, right? So we can't talk about what it's going to be just yet. But you're as plugged in as it gets to the National Football League. What are the Denver Broncos and what should Broncos fans be looking at here with Jarrett Stidham set to take over as the starting quarterback for either one more game or potentially 2 more games for Denver?
You know what? I mean, Sean Payton really, really likes him. Sean Payton has a lot of faith in him. There's some value in a guy that hasn't played very much or played in a while. You're not exactly sure what Sean Payton will do with him from a game plan standpoint and a schematic standpoint. That's why sometimes backups perform better in general against starters in some of these Week 18 games. Very hard to scout, very hard to game plan for people that there's not a lot of tape on. I thought Payton called an exceptional game yesterday. I don't think Stidham is quite as athletic as Bo Nix, but he was a day one free agent target for Sean Payton, really believes in him. I think he will absolutely give the Broncos a chance to win, no matter who they play, Texans or Patriots. I think Stidham will give him a chance to win. But clearly he's not to Bo Nix's level, but we've seen guys, even just recently, Nick Foles come to mind, who played lights out in the NFC Championship game in Super Bowl. Not that I expect that from Stidham, but stranger things have happened. Yeah, I think it'd be foolish to just totally dismiss the Broncos at this point.
You better, you bet's countdown to kickoff, divisional round Sunday in the NFL playoffs here on Westwood One Sports, presented by BetMGM. Nick Kostos joined by Westwood One Sports NFL analyst Ross Tucker, host of the Ross Tucker Football Podcast. Ross will be on the call of the Bears and the Rams later tonight from Soldier Field, along with Kevin Harlan and Laura Oakman. We'll close, Ross, with the Bears and the Rams. Give me like 30 to 60 seconds here. Who do you think wins today with the Texans and the Patriots, and why? New England, a 3-point home favorite.
Yeah, I lean to the Houston Texans because I think they have a chance to do like a 2000 Ravens, 2002 Bucks run on the defensive side of the ball over these next couple of games. They are just so good on that side of the ball. I mean, the best edge rusher duo in the league, the best secondary in the league, the best corner pairing, and maybe, Nick, the best tackling secondary I think I've ever seen. This game feels like 16-13, 13-10. Their offensive line blocked very well in the run game against the Steelers, and I just don't envision C.J. Stroud losing his mind with 5 fumbles and 3 turnovers again. I think if Stroud takes care of the football, I think the Texans win. I took them on the Even Money Betting podcast, getting the 3 points. I think there's a great chance they win. Even if they lose, should be super, super tight.
I can't wait for the game. I'll preview it coming up next hour. Jason McCourty will join us next hour as well. He'll be on the call of that game for Westwood One Sports. Man, I think you've got a really good one coming up today, Ross, along with Kevin Harlan, with the Bears and the Rams. The Rams, a 4-point road favorite, total in the game about 48.5 or 49. Give us a storyline or two that you are very much looking forward to watching that you think could decide today's game with the Bears and the Rams. Couple minutes for the answer.
Well, certainly, the weather's a major factor. And thankfully, I'm not on the sideline, but it's got to be the coldest booth in the league. And nobody listening right now is feeling bad for me even a little bit. So I don't feel bad for myself either. However, I do think it will be interesting to see how the teams perform in negative wind chill, in particular the Rams. You can't replicate that. You can't possibly replicate that out in Los Angeles. So I do think it'll be a factor. Nick, I can talk to this, having started a bunch of games in Buffalo. The ball gets harder. The ball is like bigger and harder, and so that leads to more fumbles because it squirts out easier. It's harder to catch. So I think that's something to keep an eye on in this game for sure. I don't think the Bears are going to be able to slow down the Rams at all unless the Rams turn it over, which they have done at times. On the other side, what hasn't been talked about enough is this Rams defense has really dropped off. I mean, really dropped off over the last month and a half or so. They were number 1 scoring defense through the first 11 weeks or so. Since then, they've been like 27th. And the big reason why is people have decided to attack the corners, and the corners have not been up to the challenge, which is why this feels like a high-scoring game to me, which is why I'm fascinated by the weather aspect of it. How much does the weather counteract what would otherwise seemingly be like a 34-31 game? Like a lot of these games, I probably have more faith in Matthew Stafford late than I do in Caleb Williams, but nobody's come through more this year than Caleb Williams. So I like the Bears with the points. I think it's a high-scoring, close game. Wouldn't shock me at all if Caleb Williams has the magic and gets it done again. Heck, Bryce Young almost did last week. I think the Rams probably win it outright, but anytime I get 3.5 or more in a game I think is going to be close, give me the Bears all day.
Ross, let's close with this, man. I struggle every year. Valentine's Day is coming up. I don't know what to get for my wife. Tell me and all our listeners and viewers about myfrontpagestory.com. Got 30 seconds.
It is the best. My buddy started the company. You talk to a writer or fill out an email in like 10 minutes. They write this incredible story all about how amazing your wife or significant other are. It looks like it's on the cover of a newspaper. It's framed. And, Nick, it's all about giving it to them and saying, honey, I want to do something special for you. So I had a story written about you. That just sounds amazing. And when she reads the quotes, I don't thank her enough for all the little things she does for me. She will cry. You will win. MyFrontPageStory.com. Check it out right now, fellas. Get this thing done. MyFrontPageStory.com. That is an easy money bet.
Ross, you're the best. Have a great call with Kevin Harlan, Laura Oakman on the sideline. Poor Laura's going to have to bundle up, man, on the sidelines today. Have a great call. Enjoy the game. We'll catch up with you, I hope, next week, my friends.
Sounds great. See you.
Ross Tucker joining us here on You Better You Bet's Countdown to Kickoff. He is one of a kind, an absolute gem. Hour 1 done, hour 2 for you coming up on the other side. We will close hour number 2 with all my bets for today in the divisional round of the NFL playoffs, side total, and thy royal props. Jason McCourty will join us. He'll be on the call for Westwood 1 of the Patriots and the Texans in Foxborough. But we will start the hour breaking down last night's game with the Seahawks and the Niners. And I'll give you my biggest storylines for the Pats and the Texans, the Rams and the Bears, presented by BetMGM.
We'll be right back. Better You Bet countdown to kickoff.
Going for the end zone, over the shoulder. Oh, Mims hauls it in.
We've got you set for all the weekend's postseason action.
Here's Walker, cuts back. Kenneth Walker is in. Touchdown, Seahawks.
From sides to totals to props, we've got you covered. It's You Better You Bet countdown to kickoff, presented by BetMGM on Westwood One Sports. Here's your host, Nick Kostos.
Hour number 2, countdown to kickoff, divisional round Sunday in the National Football League. Nick Kostos and you, Westwood One Sports, presented by BetMGM. Jason McCourty coming up later this hour. Jason will be on the call of the Patriots-Texans game for Westwood One coming up at Foxborough this afternoon in what's expected to be snowy New England. And I can tell everyone living in New York City, I actually don't think it's snowing anymore, but we did have a good amount of snow this morning and obviously yesterday. And I think more is supposed to be coming down here in New York in the hours to come. I think we're going to have snow potentially in both games today, in Chicago for the Bears and the Rams, and in Foxborough with the Patriots and the Texans. So Jason McCourty coming up later this hour. We'll close the show with all my bets for today, side total, and thy royal prop king for the Patriots and the Texans, the Bears and the Rams. Because we went very long on the Bills-Broncos game from yesterday, which, just to reiterate my points, one of the best divisional round playoff games ever, a horrendously officiated overtime period by the Zebras, a win for Denver where you give them credit, even though they probably were the worst team. That's not me hating, I'm just being honest. And the worst loss of the Alan McDermott era that I think means Sean McDermott should lose his job. Just a crazy, crazy, crazy football game. And then the news that Bo Nix, out for the season with a fractured bone in his right ankle. Jarrett Stidham will be the Broncos quarterback next week on Championship Sunday, and if they make it there, to Super Bowl 60. Jason McCourty was Jarrett Stidham's teammate for a season in Foxborough. We'll get to that when he joins us later this hour. But need to spend a couple minutes here on the Niners and Seahawks. And when I say a couple minutes, I think I mean it literally. Like 2 minutes. Because there isn't much to say. But just for these Seahawks, I'm getting tweets from Seahawks fans, messages from Seahawks fans. I got a message on Instagram from a Seahawks fan. When are you going to talk about the Seahawks? Well, right now, there wasn't much to say. You kicked the crap out of the 49ers last night. The game was over basically immediately on the Rashid Shaheed kick return, where the Niners kicker trying to trip Rashid Shaheed actually made me laugh out loud in the moment. Looked like something out of a Three Stooges skit. Like Moe's trying to trip Curly. Like a ridiculous attempt at a trip. Shaheed basically laughs at it and jets past him for a touchdown. Seattle takes a 7-0 lead. Yada, yada, yada. 41-6 final score, which was the Niners' worst playoff defeat since the 1986 divisional round against my New York Football Giants, where Jerry Rice was so terrified of the Giants' defense that he fumbled the ball with no one around him going into the end zone. True story. Not true that he was terrified, but he did fumble the ball with no one around him. And Niners legendary coach, the late, great Bill Walsh, was asked after the game, hey, do you think the game would have gone differently if Jerry had scored? Bill Walsh replied, yes, we would have lost 49-10 instead. If you wanted to make a case for the Niners yesterday, and I did with the Darnold injury, and we'll get to Darnold in a second, it was that Kyle Shanahan's going to have this offense schemed up. One of the best young play callers in the NFL, one of the best offensive minds in the NFL. Love me some Kyle Shanahan. First Niners offensive drive. 4th and 1. Go for it. The play call. A fullback option to the short side. In my best Stone Cold Steve Austin voice. What? And it was an avalanche from there. And if you pay attention to the NFL regular season on a week-in, week-out basis, which I do, you know that this game, that game last night, mirrors a couple Seahawks regular season games from what we saw from September through December and early January, right? We had the game in September where they avalanched the New Orleans Saints. November, avalanche the Arizona Cardinals, where Sam Darnold doesn't have to do much, and they score 40 points, and they blow you out. and they make you look silly. Sam Darnold threw for 124 yards in the game yesterday. They won 41-6. And yeah, the special teams are great, no question. And the defense is ridiculous. And I tried to tell you in August, don't be surprised if this is the best defense in the league this season. And Mike Macdonald is a stud. You think Ravens fans wish they had Mike Macdonald as their coach right now? Probably. Perhaps, I've said a couple times thus far on this show that I'm not being a hater when I say this. I may be a hater with what I'm about to say next. It's possible. Sam Darnold didn't have to do anything in the game yesterday. Are we sure Sam Darnold's just going to go and sling it all over the place next week on Championship Sunday? If you think I'm being a hater, I'm telling you, you might be right. Maybe I don't have the requisite belief in Sam Darnold. If it's Rams-Seahawks next week, and we'll get to the Rams-Bears game coming up in a little bit. If it's Rams-Seahawks, I'm going to love the Los Angeles Rams in that game. I'll tell you that in advance. And Seahawks fans, you can be pissed at me if you want. That's totally all right. But yeah, Rams-Seahawks, I will take the LA Rams if and when that is the matchup. But credit to Seattle bulldozing their division rival, the San Francisco 49ers. And just a postmortem for the Niners in what has been an injury-riddled season and a masterful coaching job by Kyle Shanahan to guide them to this point, even getting to the divisional round, beating the reigning defending Super Bowl champions last week on their turf, the Philadelphia Eagles. They're going to be back with a vengeance next year and will absolutely be in the NFC Championship mix. And we'll see when George Kittle's back off the Achilles, but Warner will be back and Nick Bosa will be back. Sleep on the Niners this summer at your own peril. Now let's get to today's games. And bets coming up at the end of the show for both of today's games. We want you, if you bet on sports, bet on the NFL, to bet at BetMGM. They are our show sponsor, and I am an ambassador for them. Am I biased? Maybe. I have BetMGM up right now, and we have a little bit of movement in the betting market for the Patriots-Texans game where some of the juice on New England has disappeared, so we are at New England just like a flat -3. Total of the game is 40.5. So New England remaining a 3-point home favorite in the game. We are expecting possible snow in the forecast, and it's going to be cold, obviously, as one might imagine, outdoors in New England in January. Injury-wise in this game, a couple very, 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 very important notes. Numero uno. Nico Collins, who is the best wide receiver on the Houston Texans, and one of the best wide receivers in football. Nico Collins is out for today's game with a concussion. Did not clear concussion protocol. And on the flip side, you have the inverse of that news with New England, where Patriots' number one corner, and I don't think he's as good a corner as Nico Collins is a receiver, but he's a very good corner. The Patriots' number one corner, Christian Gonzalez, cleared concussion protocol and will play. So the Texans missing their alpha wide receiver, and the Patriots have their number one cornerback. Perhaps one of the reasons why the Patriots seem to have been the preferred betting option this week amongst sports bettors. We have a couple really fascinating on-field handicaps in this game. The first is obviously the sexiest one, right? Where you have the second-year MVP candidate quarterback, Drake May. It's gonna be May. Going up against a defense that has aliens at every level. Anderson, Mr. Anderson, Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter rushing the passer. Al Shire and the linebackers. Jalen Petrie turning the Guardian cap into a fashion statement. Stingley and Lassiter, monster cornerbacks. This defense is sick. And not sick in a bad way like my daughter is right now. Sick in a really good way. The way the kids say it to talk about something cool. This defense is monstrous. And it's not outside the realm of possibility. And Ross Tucker alluded to this last hour when he joined us. I agree with him. Now, I'm not saying this is going to be the case. And I actually think the Patriots are going to win the game. So please understand what I'm saying. I'm not saying this will happen, but I think it could. We are 3 games away from potentially talking about the 2025 Houston Texans defense, from speaking about them in the same reverential tones and elevating them to the rarefied air occupied by the likes of the 85 Bears, the 2000 Ravens, the 2015 Denver Broncos. That's the upside of this defense. And with apologies to the Seahawks defense, and if we get Houston-Seattle as the matchup in the Super Bowl, I mean, you want to talk about like football guy, manna from heaven, like 1980s football, you go and get it with those two defenses, if it's the matchup. With apologies to the Seahawks defense, I prefer the Texans defense, although both are great. Both are great. But I think the Texans defense probably a little better. So you have the MVP candidate quarterback versus maybe the best defense, one of the best defenses we've seen in a decade in the NFL. And how much fun is that? And on the flip side, You Better You Bet's Countdown to Kickoff, Westwood One Sports, Nick Kostos here with you, Divisional Round Sunday and the NFL, presented by BetMGM. You have C.J. Stroud without his number one receiver, Nico Collins. C.J. Stroud is in year 3. The Houston Texans have been to the Final Four in the AFC, played on the divisional round of the postseason all 3 years that he's been there and D'Amico Ryans has been the coach. Going up against this Patriots defense. Now, I slept on the Patriots defense last week against the Chargers. And as a result, I slept through an alarm and I had to pay some money when I lost my bet on the Chargers. I think this is an interesting question for everyone, myself to ask me, for you, the listener, you, the viewer, to ask you. Because if the Patriots defense plays the way it did last week against the Chargers, today and moving forward, the Patriots at minimum will play for a Super Bowl championship. So do you think that last Sunday against the Chargers, and I don't know the answer to this question, I'm being sincere. What do you think? I have a guess. I'm guessing. Do you think that last Sunday night was more about the Patriots defense coalescing into something new and becoming something new? Or was it more that Justin Herbert doesn't have it in the big spot? And that's not meant to be like a narrative-y thing, like a hot takey thing, just like he's played his 2 worst games of the last 2 seasons, both in the playoffs. Like kind of, it's a fact. It's indisputable. Do you think it's more the defense? Or do you think it's Herbert? Or a bad offensive game plan that led to Jim Harbaugh firing Greg Roman as the offensive coordinator? I think it's a fair question to ask. And I think your answer to that question should dictate how you want to bet this game. Because if it's more like Herbert just spit the bit, the Texans are going to be able to score in the game. Not a ton, but I think they'll be able to score. And then you have the Texans defense on the other side. It's an interesting game, man. Like, I can't wait to watch this game. I'm going to watch every play of this game. I'm going to be immersed in it. I'm plugging into the Matrix for this game. It's going to be great. My guess as to how it'll play out, and I have some bets for the game. I'm going to be real with everybody. Like, I have bets that I will make for Rams-Bears with confidence. These are not confident wagers I'll make. But listen, I want to bet on the playoffs. I'm going to bet responsibly, right? I think the loss of Nico Collins is gigantic for Houston. And I like some of their other receivers. You listen to the show. You watch the show throughout the football season. Subscribe, youtube.com/@thekostos. Hit me up on all socials, @thekostos, TheKostos. You know I love me some Jaden Higgins, Jalen Noel. I bet Christian Kirk over on Monday night. Dalton Schultz. These are good players. Nico Collins is a great player. And I think that'll be the difference in the game. I do think the Patriots will win. And I think the Patriots are likely to go to the Super Bowl with Bo Nix out for the Denver Broncos. I will stop short of saying that this is the AFC Championship game today at Gillette Stadium. But I wouldn't begrudge anyone for having that opinion with Bo Nix out for Denver. Countdown to Kickoff, Divisional Round Sunday here on Westwood One Sports. Oh, baby. The nightcap to wrap it all up. The best weekend in sports. The LA Rams at the Chicago Bears. It is going to be frigid at Soldier Field. The LA Rams, 3.5-point road favorites, so the Bears have gotten bet a little bit from where they were this morning. The Rams were 4 this morning. The total has ticked up a half point to 49. I agree with that line move. And just a little historical lesson for everybody, because I love me some NFL history. The last time these two teams met in the postseason was the 1985 NFC Championship game, where it may or may not surprise you to hear, knowing what we know about the 85 Bears being referred to as one of, if not the, best teams of all time, and one of, if not the, best defenses of all time, the Rams scored, if you took the number of points the Rams scored in that NFC Championship game and multiplied it by 1,000,000, the number would be 0. The Bears shut out Dieter Brock and the Los Angeles Rams 24-0 in that NFC title game, en route to destroying the New England Patriots in Super Bowl 20 to win the only Super Bowl in the illustrious history of the Chicago Bears. The Rams had 130 yards of total offense on that day. My very strong suspicion is they'll score more points today. I love the coaching matchup in today's game. I love the rivalry burgeoning with Ben Johnson against basically anyone involved with the Sean McVay tree. Getting into it with Matt LaFleur. Like saying when he gets introduced as Bears head coach, he likes beating Matt LaFleur twice a year. Then he proceeds to beat Matt LaFleur twice this year out of 3, including last Saturday night to knock the Packers out of the playoffs. And then the icy handshake. And then F the Packers in the postgame locker room. And yeah, you get the report. You get the scuttlebutt. You get the rumor. You get the innuendo from Peter Schrager, who does an awesome job covering the NFL for ESPN. He's on the Bill Simmons podcast, and he says that McVay and the McVay tree, they're not happy. No. With Ben Johnson. For Ben Johnson, being rude to Matt LaFleur. No, they don't like it. You know what I say to that? Grow up. I love it from Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson is a mastermind and a stud in his own right, and probably feels like the kid in school who gets shunned by the cool kids table and then grows up and gets a great job and gets in shape and gets a hot wife and now wants to rub everybody's faces in it. He ain't part of that clique. And he's probably like, screw you, I'm the best. And that's awesome. And it makes this game so much more fun and entertaining. And then you get to on the field, where I don't hate to, it makes for better content if I disagree with Ross and stuff he said last hour. But I have to be honest. Like, I agree with a lot of what he said about this game, where I have a ton of confidence that Matthew Stafford and the Rams offense are going to score, and score a lot in this game. Feels like they got their clunker out of the way last week almost lost to the 8-9 Carolina Panthers. 7 plays, 71 yards, Stafford to Parkinson to win the game. The Bears' defense is not very good. They force a ton of turnovers, but their defense is not good. And if you're a Bears fan and you're getting sensitive and salty hearing that, I don't know what to tell you. I'm just telling the truth. Their defense isn't good. The Rams are going to score in the game. That's what I'm most confident in. What makes the handicap and trying to bet the game and conceptualize the game a little tricky is what you get from the Chicago offense. Because we can call a spade a spade. The Rams' secondary is brutal. It's bad. Like it's the opposite of good. It is very poor. They made Bryce Young last week look like Joe Montana in the 1989 NFC Championship game with Jim Everett seeing ghosts. It is a brutal secondary. And you know that Ben Johnson going to have this offense schemed up today. And Colston Loveland's going to have a day. And Luther Burden might have a day. Do you believe in life after love? Sorry. Do you believe that Caleb Williams can ball out today? If you do, if you think so, and Caleb Williams' on-field play matches up with Ben Johnson's sideline play calling, the Bears are going to score a lot on this Rams defense. And they could win the game and certainly cover the point spread that's more than 3. And that's where I kind of get tripped up trying to predict the winner of the game. Now, what's my best guess? I think the Rams are going to win. And if I had to bet the point spread, I would lay Los Angeles with no confidence, but I would lay the Rams. I think the preferred bet here is just that there will be points scored. Betting market agrees it's on the way up. I don't care that it's cold. And maybe I'm wrong about that. And maybe that neither team can move and they look frigid. Just think about it, like Rams-Eagles last year in the snow. Rams offense looked pretty good. Just saying. It's going to be way colder today than that was. But just saying. Matthew Stafford played in the NFC North, albeit in Detroit, but played a lot of outdoor cold games. I think he'll be fine. I like the over in the game. I think the Rams name their score. I think the Rams get into the 30s. Would I be shocked if the Bears won? No. But I do think the Rams will win. And that would set up Rams-Seahawks Part 3 next Sunday in the Pacific Northwest for the NFC Championship. And if and when we get that matchup, give me the LA Rams to advance to Super Bowl 60. Best bets for today will close the show about 25 to 30 minutes from now. But coming up next, the great Jason McCourty stops by. Jason will be on the call along with John Sadak, Ben Lieber, Westwood One Sports coverage of the Patriots and Texans later this afternoon from Foxborough. Jason will join us to preview that game, and we'll ask Jason about his former teammate, Jarrett Stidham. You know, the new starting quarterback of the Denver Broncos. Coming up next on Countdown to Kickoff.
We'll be right back with You Better You Bet Countdown to Kickoff, presented by BetMGM. Make it legendary.
off the play fake. May drops back to pass. Henley fell down. May throws to his left. He's got Henry inside the 5, into the end zone. Just inside the left pylon. Touchdown, Patriots. 28 yards.
This is You Better You Bet Countdown to Kickoff with Nick Kostos, presented by BetMGM. Make it legendary.
Tom McCarthy and Derek Rackley with the call last week on Sunday Night Football. The Patriots, I said it. You could have given the Chargers 8 quarters. Here's an extra 60 minutes of football for the Chargers. And I don't think they would have scored 17 points last week to beat the Patriots 17-16. What an awesome defensive effort that was from New England. Drake May with the touchdown pass to Hunter Henry, setting up what some are calling the de facto AFC Championship game at Gillette Stadium today, with Jarrett Stidham starting next week for the Denver Broncos in place of the injured Bo Nix. Joining us right now to talk about all of it, everything divisional round of the NFL postseason, you will have the honor and pleasure of listening to him and John Sadak, Ben Lieber on the sidelines later this afternoon on Westwood One Sports with the national radio call of the Patriots and the Texans. The great Jason McCourty here with us on the show, on Twitter at his name, at Jason McCourty. Jason, welcome back to You Better You Bet. How's it going, my man? Happy divisional round Sunday to you and yours.
It's going well, man. It's good to talk to you guys. How's everything going your way?
Everything is awesome. Best sports weekend of the year. We are in ecstasy watching these games. And why don't we start with this? And I know that ecstasy was maybe going a little too far there. I will admit. I do love it. We will talk about Jarrett Stidham in a moment here, and your former teammate with the Patriots. You can even actually fold him into this answer if you want, because I actually want to start there with, and we can preview the game itself. But do you look at this? Because a lot of people are saying this, Jason, right, wrong, or indifferent, that with Jarrett Stidham starting next week for the Denver Broncos, that this is the AFC Championship game this afternoon with the Patriots and the Texans in Foxborough. What is your take on that take and what we'll see next week from Jarrett Stidham?
Yeah, I mean, I completely understand why people are saying that. It has less to do about Jarrett Stidham and just the fact that you're getting ready to play an AFC Championship game and you just lost your quarterback that has started and played in every single snap, and it's led you to where you've gotten. So now you're bringing in a backup. So, of course, whatever happens in the game today between New England and against Houston, they're going to probably be favored on the road at Denver next week. But for these two teams playing today, you don't give a damn about what next week is going to look like. And do you care whether this is the AFC Championship game on paper because of what's gone on? Divisional round, nobody on the field today is going to care. So I think that's a storyline for like us in the media to talk about, or fans or something that for the two teams getting ready to battle. If I'm Drake May, I'm more concerned about Will Anderson and Daniil Hunter coming off the edge than I am about a potential AFC Championship game. If I'm CJ Stroud, I'm focused on holding on to the football and not putting it on the turf and giving it away as he did a week ago. So I think that's the main focus in the storyline of this game. I think for Denver, they have to figure it out, all of that out. But yeah, I guess you could call it the AFC Championship game, but I guess my take on it would be who cares?
Fair enough. And I think, Jace, like I gave my opinion on Jarrett Stidham earlier in the show, but like you played you won a Super Bowl. You played with him you've seen him before, right? You've seen him in practice. What are your expectations for him? If you're a Broncos fan out there listening, to the Broncos fans, to people that have bet the Broncos, what do they have to look forward to, or what should they expect? Give us the Jason McCourty scouting report on Jarrett Stidham as he gets set to start the AFC Championship game next week. What a sentence.
I love Jarrett Stidham, and I think so he hasn't thrown a pass since 2023. So when you talk about the scouting report and what he has to do for this Denver Broncos team to win, a lot of it is going to be just controlling the game. He's a veteran quarterback. He has started. He has played in games. So are you going to ask him to do the things that Bo Nix can do? Absolutely not. He's not the same type of player or athlete that Bo Nix is. That offense has been built around. We saw it last week. They started the game off and they ran Bo Nix. I think it was 3 to 5 times if you include the 2 QB sneaks on the first drive of the game. That is not Jarrett Stidham's game. So you're not going to have that element of it. So I think for him, it's can you get the ball out quick? They love to throw screen passes, whether to the running back or to the wide receivers. Can he make those type of plays? And then it's going to come down to, can he get the ball down the field and deliver? He's more of a pocket passer who has some athleticism. But the one thing about Stiddy, is what we used to call him, is he's a guy that can bring people together. He's been in Denver. He's played games there. He started for the Raiders when all the Derek Carr stuff was going on. So he's a player that I don't think the moment is going to be too big. I think from an ability standpoint, there's going to be a major drop-off from losing Bo Nix. You don't get to where you've gotten to as a playoff team and playing in the AFC Championship game without doing it on the back of your quarterback. The way Bo Nix played in the fourth quarter of that game, the way he's played all season long, it is an extremely tall task for Jarrett Stidham to come in and try to lead this team to the Super Bowl.
Jason, I find so many things fascinating about the Patriots-Texans game, and I promise that we will talk about it in a second, but I can't not ask you about Buffalo while we have you here. So we will do all things Patriots-Texans coming up after this. But the Buffalo Bills lose that game yesterday, and this is my opinion. I'm not speaking for you, my opinion. This is the worst loss of the Allen McDermott era. With no Mahomes, no Lamar, no Burrow, and you still can't get even to Championship Sunday. Where do the Buffalo Bills, Jason, in your estimation, go from here as they try to get back to the Super Bowl for the first time since Super Bowl 28?
Yeah, that was brutal. And I won't call it the worst loss. The 13-second loss they had where they score and they give up the score to Kansas City. For me, I'm a defender. 13 seconds, like, put us on the field. We're going to win the football game with a defensive-minded head coach. But that one was tough. And I didn't really buy into the same narrative without Mahomes, without Burrow, without Lamar and all of that, just because I felt like this Buffalo Bills team wasn't as good as some of the ones they had in the past to go up against some of those quarterbacks. So I wasn't really on that same wavelength as everyone else was. My issue with that loss was as skewed and as bad as I thought this Buffalo Bills team was, time after time they've risen to the challenge. The defense stepped up. They didn't allow teams to kill them on the ground as they did in moments throughout the course of the season. To your point, the big letdown in that game was watching Josh Allen fall short, watching him put the ball on the ground before half, giving up 3 points, was watching him throw interceptions in that game. And even the Brandon Cooks, all the controversy over that play, a ball's a yard or two further, it's an easy catch. So that, to me, was the most disappointing because I've said it time after time. If I'm starting a team, the first player I'm picking on my team in the NFL is Josh Allen. Like, I think he's that good, and I think that highly of him. And he has continued to carry this team, but he fell short in that game yesterday, and a lot of it falls on his back. So when you say the worst, I think a lot of it has to do with they've lost playoff games, but Josh Allen has been spectacular, and you kind of have been able to place the blame elsewhere. And I felt like that game yesterday, they didn't get the best from Josh Allen. You can come up with whatever excuse you want to come up with, but I think that was the biggest letdown in that game, was that if he had the type of games we've seen him routinely make, then they're probably advancing to the AFC Championship game.
I always laugh when, like, you ask, like, sports, like, hey, what are you watching on TV now? And they're like, oh yeah, I'm watching this for you. Like, the NFL is the greatest entertainment that has ever existed in any medium ever. The stuff, just the Bills yesterday, it is absolutely incredible. You Bet's countdown to kickoff, divisional round Sunday, Westwood One Sports. Nick Kostos here with you, presented by BetMGM, joined by Jason McCourty, Westwood One NFL analyst, Super Bowl champion. Jason will be on the call with John Sadak, Ben Lieber on the sideline, Patriots and Texans later this afternoon on Westwood One Sports. And Jason, I'd love to get your opinion on offense v defense, both sides of this game, and the most intriguing thing about this game, in my estimation. On one side, with the Patriots offense, you have the MVP candidate second-year quarterback, right, and how awesome he's been this season. And on the flip side, and you as a defensive guy, I don't know that you feel this way, but I'm guessing that you do. You have a defense that, if the next 3 games go a certain way, we might be talking about this as a legendary all-time defense with the Houston Texans, with monsters at all 3 levels. When you analyze this game, Drake May and the Patriots offense versus Will Anderson and the Texans defense, what do you think we're going to see on the field coming up later today?
Man, that first part you said, I think if I could have my own dream and I could watch the Houston Texans defense in the Super Bowl and watch the Seattle Seahawks defense on the other side, that's a dream come true for a defender like myself, watching those two teams go at it because of how elite both units are. But when you look specifically at this one, to me, it does come down to that. When you turn on the film and you watch Houston's defense, it feels as though 15 guys are out there on the field with how fast they run and how, like, they have bad intentions. When they get to the ball, like, they don't like you. Like, they're trying to hurt you and not allow you back in the game with how they run and hit. So I do look at this from an offensive standpoint for Drake May. What I'm fascinated to see unfold is Josh McDaniels. He's been an offensive coordinator, and he's had a ton of success in this league for 20-plus years. one of Josh's specialties is he goes into a game and he figures out what the strength is of a defense and what their weaknesses are, and he exposes it. I go back to the Cleveland Browns game this year where Cleveland was a man-to-man team, and they rushed and they loved to get up the field. And in that game, they ran the ball on the outside. They had receivers blocking down to get on the edge. They had pick plays on passing plays that free guys up, figuring out ways to attack your opponent. I love this matchup because Houston is a team where there's not a ton of disguises on defensive side of the ball. It's not a lot of trick you. It's line up and just beat you. And I'm going to look at it, our defense, and we're going to say our 11 are better than your 11. You're going to know where we're going to be, and we're just going to dominate you when you get there. So that's the part of it, the chess match of both of these guys, Matt Burke, the defensive coordinator for the Texans, and obviously DeMeco Ryans, the defensive-minded head coach. The plan that both sides come up with, how Houston uses Jalen Petrie when the Patriots bring 6 offensive linemen in the game and they're having 3 tight ends or anything of that nature. Do they keep Petrie at that nickel spot? Do they go with a foot? All of those type of things, I want to see how it unfolds in this game. And then the last part is Drake May has excelled with throwing the football down the field all season long. That's been his superpower. He's been the best in the NFL at doing that. Houston is one of the top defenses in the league at taking the ball away and not allowing it. They have 4 DBs that all have 4 interceptions. Who wins that battle as well time and time throughout the course of this game?
I kind of think, Jason, that Drake May is going to have to make a difference with his legs in this game, like the way Aaron Rodgers couldn't on Monday night. That's my opinion. You actually played in the NFL. If you had to look at it from a Patriots perspective, this can be like 30 seconds for this answer. Maybe it's May running the ball. Maybe it's Stephon Diggs. Maybe it's the downfield passing game. Maybe it's the tight ends. What skill position player has to step up today for the Patriots offense against the Texans defense? Or is it just like Drake May's got to put on the Superman cape like we expected Josh Allen to do?
It obviously take the Superman cape, and you're going to have to run with that. But I'm looking at the receiver position, Kayshon Boutte, Kyle Williams. One of those 2 guys have to be the guy to step up and make a play on the one-on-one on the outside when they give him a chance to throw the ball down the field. One of those 2 guys is going to have to be a big play guy and make a play down the field throughout the course of this game.
Okay, so Bubba Sparks, Kayshon Boutte, rocking everywhere. Let's see if he can break up a big one. Or Kyle Williams, the 69th overall pick in the draft. Nice for the New England Patriots. All right, flip side, Texans offense versus Patriots defense. Bad news for Houston, good news for New England. Nico Collins does not clear concussion protocol. Christian Gonzalez does for the New England Patriots. And, Jason, something I've struggled with after the Sunday night game when the Patriots make Justin Herbert and the Chargers offense look terrible, right? The Chargers fire offensive coordinator Greg Roman. And kind of the question that I'm asking myself is, was that performance last Sunday night from the Patriots defense, is that more the defense kind of morphing into something it hasn't necessarily been this year? Or is it just like Justin Herbert played a bad game? Because I think that can kind of inform how we feel like C.J. Stroud and the Texans offense will perform today in the absence of Nico Collins. How do you break down that matchup, Houston offense without Nico Collins versus the New England Patriots defense with Christian Gonzalez?
Yeah, I think both things you say can be true. I think when you go back and you look at that game, Justin Herbert left plenty of plays out there on the field to be had. And I think that's the beauty when you look at this Patriots defense of the playoffs, where you go into each and every game and you have an opportunity to morph yourself into something to defeat the opponent for that week. They went in last week knowing what the Charger struggles were up front, and they disguised and they did different things with blitz packages and dropping guys into coverage to confuse and kind of rattle Justin Herbert and force him to get outside the pocket, and he took his eyes from being down the field. So I think you're going to see a lot of that in this game as well. It's trying to confuse C.J. Stroud, having 7 guys up at the line of scrimmage and then moving out to try to get him to hold on to the ball a beat. And I think it's huge, no Nico Collins, because Christian Gonzalez, their best corner, is going to be playing. So from a matchup standpoint, does that allow you now to double team Christian Kirk a little bit more on third down and free those guys, Carlton Davis and Christian Gonzalez on the outside to play man without Nico Collins being there? So this is going to be a fun one. And Nick Haley, the offensive coordinator for the Patriots, he was in New England. His first offensive job in the NFL was underneath Josh McDaniels. So there's so many storylines beyond just the X's and O's. There's about 6 coaches on the staff for the Houston Texans that spent a ton of time here in New England as well. So a lot of fun to be had in this game.
Jason, you're so good at this. I want to follow up with something you just said. Let's say that you're right. and the Patriots decide, because Christian Kirk was amazing on Monday night against the Steelers, they say, you know what, we're going to help Marcus Jones, we're going to double Christian Kirk in the slot, right? And we're going to man up on Jaden Higgins, we'll man up on Xavier Hutchinson, maybe it's Jalen Noel. Who do you think then makes the difference? If that's going to happen, who has to step up for the Texans in the passing game in order for Houston to score enough points to maybe win this game today in New England?
Dalton Schultz. He's been one of the guys for them, a career year for him this year in this offense, and he's made plays for them time and time again. He's been kind of C.J. Stroud's security blanket and such, and wasn't a huge game for him last week. Two catches, 13 yards. But he's a guy that potentially can open up, whether it's a simple check down or a screen to him, forcing the defense to keep eyes on him to try to get one of those guys down the field. You mentioned Jalen Noel. He's a guy that whenever he touches the ball, an explosive play can happen. How do they try to work him in to maybe manufacture some offense? But for C.J. Stroud and for this offense, a lot of it's going to be the commitment to the run. New England's one of the best at defending a run, but they're going to have to commit to it like they did last week, bring that 6 offensive lineman and Fisher in and run the football.
Jason, let's get you out of here on this. And great breakdown of the Patriots-Texans game. You'll be on the call of that game on Westwood One Sports. The nightcap tonight is going to be awesome as well. And you want to talk coaching storylines, McVay and Ben Johnson. McVay a little annoyed with Ben Johnson reportedly for Ben Johnson going at Matt LaFleur, obviously part of the McVay clique. You got Matthew Stafford, MVP candidate. Caleb Williams trying to get to the conference championship game. Absolutely can't wait for that game. How do you see Rams-Bears playing out? And just for context, and this does not have to be like Jason McCourty's best bet, but just to tell you what the line of the game is. The Rams are a 3.5-point road favorite. The total of the game is 49. What do you think we see with the Rams and the Bears later today at Soldier Field?
I think weather looms large in this one, and typically I hate all the weather breakdowns when it comes to games. Both teams have to plan it. But the Rams, this is an LA team that plays in a hybrid type of indoor stadium for Matthew Stafford now. Spent most of his career in the Dome in Detroit as well. Now you're going on the road in conditions, windy as hell, cold as hell. How are they going to go out there and perform? They're an offense that, yes, can run the football with Kyron Williams and those guys, but a lot of it is on Matthew Stafford's arm and getting the ball to Puka and Devontae. So this is the Bears defense that can be had. How much of that explosive passing game are they able to hit through the cold? And then on the Bears side of it, I remember going to that last game. I'm like, the Bears, they can win this game without the heroics of Caleb Williams. I lied. That's just part of who this team is, and it's a part of their DNA, where Caleb just does some outstanding things, and they play bad throughout the course of the game, but he's going to have those moments where he just absolutely goes off. For the Bears to win this one, to me, starts with turnovers. That's what they've lived on the defensive side of the ball all game long. And then how many plays can Caleb Williams make where he propels his team to victory? I actually think it depends upon how much the wind and the weather plays, but I thought this game would be high scoring. So let's see if it lives up to that.
Jason, you are spectacular, man. I can't wait to hear you and John Sadak on the call coming up later this afternoon of the Patriots and Texans. Ben Lieber on the sideline on Westwood One Sports. Everyone should follow you on Twitter at Jason McCourty. Have a great call of the game, my man, and hope to catch up with you soon. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it, man. Have a good one.
Jason McCourty joining us here on You Bet or You Bet. I mean, kind of as good as it gets, right? I loved his answers for both the Patriots offense and the Texans offense, right? And those are kind of I'll be honest, those are kind of me asking because I'd like to make some prop bets. Also because it's a very interesting conversation to have, right? Likes Dalton Schultz as a potential difference maker for the Texans on offense. And I thought what he said made a lot of sense. With no Nico Collins, maybe you double Christian Kirk in the slot. You man up on Higgins and Xavier Hutchinson on the outside. And perhaps that enables Dalton Schultz to have a nice game. And for the Patriots, can Drake May hit some shots down the field to Kyle Williams or Kayshawn booty, rocking everywhere? And when you put it like that, maybe the Texans are just going to win this game. I don't know. I think New England's going to win, but I have said throughout the entire week and on today's edition of the show, I don't say that with a ton of confidence. On the other side, I will give you all my bets for today. Side, total, and props. Texans and Pats, Rams and Bears, to wrap up the divisional round Sunday edition of Countdown to Kickoff on Westwood One Sports. We are presented by BetMGM.
We'll be right back with You Better You Bet Countdown to Kickoff, presented by BetMGM. Make it legendary. This is You Better You Bet Countdown to Kickoff with Nick Kostos, presented by BetMGM. Make it legendary.
All right, couple more minutes here. Countdown to Kickoff Divisional Round Sunday in the NFL. Some thank yous to do aloud before we wrap up the show with all the bets for today in the National Football League. Two tremendous guests, both Westwood One NFL analysts. Ross Tucker will be on the call with Kevin Harlan of the Bears and the Rams on Westwood One Sports. Jason McCourty just joined us with John Sadak, Westwood One Sports as well. The Westwood One Sports doubleheader going to be magnificent today, as it was yesterday in the National Football League. Our executive producer today on the show, Tyler Morales. Our engineer, the great Grant Leader. And our friend Monty, Mike Montgomery, our video producer today. Thank you very much to them. I will be back tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Eastern for the weekday edition of You Better You Bet. Follow the show on YouTube. Subscribe on YouTube, youtube.com/@thekostos, TheKostos. Now the bets. Graham, please drop the dope ass beat. No matter who you're rooting for, write your own story for the divisional round this year. Now, you can make every game more memorable when you bet with boosted odds. Activate today's Odds Boost token on any Pro Football Playoffs bet, and you'll receive a bigger payout if your bet wins. Lock in for every playoff snap with BetMGM, and please gamble responsibly. Small bet for me on the under with the Patriots and Texans. I don't have a strong opinion on the game. I'll just put a couple bucks on the under. Prop-wise in that game, Jason McCourty didn't like this bet. I'll take the Christian Kirk over receiving yards. Tayshaun Boutte, Kyle Williams, both beer money bets on them to score a touchdown. I did like his opinion there. Rams and the Bears over 49. I bet 48.5. 49's okay. Rams team total over. I think they get into the 30s. Colston Loveland over receiving yards. Blake Corum, anytime touchdown. As always, please, 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 please gamble responsibly. And that does it for the divisional round Sunday edition of You Better You Bet's Countdown to Kickoff. Again, I will be back tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Eastern with the weekday edition of You Better You Bet. Great game. Well, we don't know if they were both great yesterday. Great day of football yesterday. Let's have another great day of football today. So until we meet again, dear listener and dear viewer, I'm Nick Kostos wishing you and yours minimal sweats, winning bets, and the absolute very best of luck.
That was You Better You Bet, presented by BetMGM on Westwood One Sports.